We live in a busy and stressful world where our emotions can often get the best of us. But we can learn to master our emotions and use them to our advantage. This story will reveal the importance of managing our emotions. It can help us cope with the challenges and opportunities of life more successfully. So stay tuned to discover how to control your emotions and improve your everyday life. Once there was a king who had a habit of reacting quickly to things and letting his emotions control him. He would easily get upset over small matters, even to the point of sentencing people to death for minor mistakes. One day, a wise monk visited the king's kingdom for a few days. Upon hearing of the monk's arrival, the king eagerly invited him to a dinner at his palace, and the monk accepted the invitation graciously. In the evening, as they sat down to eat and discuss matters, a fly accidentally fell in the king's shoe. The king got furious when he saw a shoe and shouted loudly to his servant, "Can't you see there is a fly in my shoe? How can you be so neglecting?" The servant started to tremble with fear and said, "Your Majesty, the fly was not there when I served the shoe." However, the king's anger showed no sign of fading. Observing the situation, the monk intervened calmly, addressing the king, "Your Majesty." It was not the servant's fault. The fly landed later after the servant served the shoe. You should not let such trivial matters ruin your mood. Feeling deeply offended, the king replied with frustration, "But sir, I can't hold such things. Even a small fly can ruin my mood." The monk smiled gently and replied, "It is not the fly that has spoiled your mood, but your reaction to it. You have the power to control your emotions. Your Majesty, do not let your emotions control you. Instead, you should have control over your emotions." The king sighed, expressing struggle, "But I can't control my anger. If I try to suppress it, I only become more frustrated." Understandingly, the monk explained, "Your Majesty, it is because you have never tried to control your emotions. One should never make hasty decisions in the moments of anger or extreme joy. Take some time to reflect before reacting. Maintain control over your emotions instead of allowing them to dictate your actions." The king took the monk's words to his heart and started practicing patience and controlling his emotions. After a few days, he realized that by allowing himself to calm down, he could think more clearly about situations and make better decisions. Now, the king started to stay calmer and more peaceful. He found that he could understand situations better and govern his kingdom more effectively. The king found himself living a much happier and more peaceful life now. One day, he decided to thank the monk for his valuable advice. He went to the monk and said, "Oh, wise one, your teachings have changed me. I have no better control over my emotions, and I make wiser decisions now. I am really grateful to you for your advice." The monk smiled kindly and said, "King, you are not alone in facing these challenges. Many people have difficulty controlling their impulses and tend to let their emotions drive their behavior. You should share this message with others too. Encourage them to practice peace and patience to lead better lives. It is important to understand that emotions like anger, happiness, and sadness come and go. They are just part of life. We should not get swept away by these emotions. Instead, we should remember to stay calm and patient so that we can steer our own lives and not be driven by these fleeting emotions. If we see in our lives, we will find that in a world full of stressful situations, it can be easy to get caught up in all the cures. But by being mindful of your emotions and learning to keep them in check, you can take control of your emotions and make a positive change in your life. Emotions are natural and inevitable, but they can also be harmful if we react to them without thinking. If we act hastily based on our emotions, we might end up regretting our actions later on. Therefore, to take control over our emotions, the first thing we need to do is to identify our emotional triggers. Emotional triggers are things that make you feel angry or upset. These triggers can vary widely from person to person and can include events, memories, or even specific words or actions. For example, someone's emotional trigger might be anger, such as when they are criticized at work or stuck in traffic. They get angry. Another person might be triggered by sadness. When they see something that reminds them of a past trauma or loss, they can get sad. To recognize your emotional trigger, you need to do some introspection. When we feel overwhelmed by our emotions, we need to stay in the present and observe them without judgment. We can use mindful techniques such as breathing or meditation to calm ourselves down. We also need to pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations when we encounter our triggers. This way, we can understand how we react and how to change our response. We can also find other ways to cope with our emotions, such as taking a break, talking to a friend, or doing something relaxing. We need to remember that emotions are temporary and will pass. By being peaceful and patient, we can overcome life's difficulties without being ruled by our emotions. This will enable us to enjoy a more fulfilling and peaceful life, free from remorse and cures. And don't forget to subscribe my channel.